Hello everybody, and welcome to my in-depth critique and analyzation of The Boys Season 2. After my Rise of Skywalker review got some nice reception from the viewers, I decided I wanted to do another review, kinda in the same format. While making the Rise of Skywalker review, I was already thinking of some potential candidates, and one that came to mind was The Boys Season 2. Over the summer while stuck in the house due to the pandemic, I started to watch some more TV and movies and catch up on seeing stuff that I have meant to for some time. And one thing I always wanted to see but never got around to was The Boys. So in about the late summer, I would say maybe July, August, somewhere in there, I watched Season 1 and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was refreshing seeing another take on the superhero genre, and I liked the premise of the show. A bunch of normal people who are out seeking revenge and some justice on some superheroes who look like they are good people, but in reality are complete jerks and lunatics, and some of them even pure evil. It was fun and good to watch. It had some great production value, an amazing cast and talent who can really act with the roles they were given, a good premise of the show that really drew me in, some amazing use of blood and gore to add to the show's personality and tone. Karl Urban and Anthony Starr were my favorite actors and played my favorite characters in the show. I felt the show really had some great character development, and I felt like I got to know each of these characters a little bit as the show went on. I like the corporate, commercialized perspective the show presents in terms of how superheroes could be profitable and would operate as a business. The color palette of the show was very pleasing and nice to look at. Yeah, the first season was pretty solid. Wasn't perfect, but pretty solid. So I was really looking forward to see what they would do with Season 2. Then it came around and I watched it, and overall I liked it. But while I did like it, I was also at the same time disappointed. You see, I felt like the season as a whole, the second season, was not satisfying on the same level of Season 1. I was really trying to think on why I felt this way and what could possibly be causing me to feel this way. So I decided to take a deeper look into Season 2 and really think about it, and I started to realize that this show had some major problems, particularly with the story, writing, and the decisions that characters make. I realized the show had some really dumb moments in illogical storytelling that was in the script. I decided that I would go ahead and make an in-depth review on the second season of The Boys. Now before we get started, friendly reminder, I am not here to take away your enjoyment of the show. I am just here to analyze the show and talk about the problems that I have found when I analyzed it. If you still enjoy the show, that is fine. I still like this show despite the flaws that I have found in it. Also, this in-depth review is going to be divided into two parts. So part 1 is going to be covering episodes 1 through 4, while part 2 will cover episodes 5 through 8. Alright, I think that's about everything that needs to be known. So let us go ahead and dive into The Boys Season 2 and really examine why this show may not be as good as it appears. Hope y'all enjoy. Starting with episode 1, we start off with some construction, renovations, and new management being done at Vought. Little intern man here is delivering takeout to the members of this meeting, in which are Vought executives and government officials, discussing their terms and conditions for letting superheroes join the army. Giancarlo Esposito, that's how you say it, right, plays the new head of Vought and does a great job acting in the role that he plays. First thing he brings up is that the chain of command does not apply to other military contractors in the field, and that he does not see why it should apply to Vought. Basically, he is saying that the heroes do not need to answer to the military while in combat, and that they only answer to him. I'm not sure that's how that would work. You think that if superheroes are serving in a government agency, that they would have knowledge or some sort of say-so in who they report to? I find it hard to believe that the US Army would be fine having superhero soldiers in their ranks and not answer to any kind of command within the army at all. I don't really think this would fly in the real world, or in any logical sense of any world. Moving on, Edgar references subheading 16, which says that they want a top secret Yankee white designation for Compound V. But let's just assume that this top secret Yankee white designation is some kinds of ways to keep knowledge of Compound V from getting out any further than it has, right? Making sure the public doesn't know about it. Okay, and apparently the only one who has the authority for this kind of power or this kind of designation is the President of the United States. And Stan says he will bark orders at the President to get his Yankee White designation for Compound V. Yeah, that's not how it works, Stan. You think the President is just going to do what you tell him to? Like with no questioning or concerns? You think you're just going to waltz into the office and just say, do this, and do it now, and the President's going to say, okay? If you really think that's going to happen, you are shockingly naive. The best shot at this, Stan, is for you to meet with the President possibly, and discuss it. Convince him that it is within the best interest of the United States to keep Compound V a secret. But anyway, the point is that there is no way you're going to just walk into the office and just command the president to do things you want. That's not how it works. That's never how it works in any sorts.
Exactly what casualty allowance are we looking at here?
But cone of silence, 34%.
Just a couple things. Why is it 34%? That seems quite an interesting number to choose. But even the bigger problem is, how do they plan to cover up any kind of casualties or collateral damage? People have phones now. It is so easy to record things that are going on. You really think you're going to be able to cover up any kind of collateral damage or innocent people that the superheroes might hurt on that massive of a scale? I don't really think that's possible, but okay, maybe they can just do it. Who knows? So while this meeting with Edgar and the government officials is going on, Black Noir is overseas going on a terrorist killing spree, slicing throats and ripping mouths open wide. He comes across the combustion guy who we saw a glimpse of in season 1 and is currently making t-shirts with catchy phrases on it. Black Noir pops in and Combustion Man lets out a huge explosion, but unfortunately it didn't kill Black Noir and he is still standing there bleeding profusely. So why not try it again? Hey, Combustion Man, yeah, you there. Why not do another explosion? It appears to have damaged Black Noir. I mean, he's bleeding out and it's got some pretty deep wounds, so why not keep exploding so that we can just injure him maybe to the point of death? Why not keep exploding until Black Noir is down, or better yet, dead? Why are you just standing there, like, completely shocked? Can you not do it again? Do you need to recharge? Oh, well, I guess it doesn't matter. You are dead. After that, we cut to the funeral ceremony being held for Translucent. This ceremony is currently being hosted by our main antagonist superhero, Homelander. I've got no problem really with the funeral scene. I actually like it. It's very funny reveal of the empty casket. We get to see more of Homelander giving speeches to his adoring public. So yeah, it's a pretty decent scene. I like it. After his speech, Starlight gives a musical send-off to Translucent as we cut to the Deep in the bar watching the event and being an obnoxious a-hole. Now, we will see this as we progress through the episodes, but the Deep's importance to the narrative has dropped dramatically in Season 2 compared to Season 1. In Season 1, he actually had some kind of character to him. He actually had an impact on the characters around him and their perspectives on Vought. His actions had consequences on himself and caused him to be in the place that he is. His actions affected Starlight and contributed to her development as a character in Season 1. His actions also affected Vought in Season 1. Even though I don't think he is a major or a fully fleshed out character in Season 1, he served some sort of purpose for the story. In this season, he is nothing more than a joke. All of his scenes are for comedic relief or to get a laugh out of the audience. Nothing is progressed about him at all. If you like the fact that they took him on a joke route and he's nothing more than a joke, that's fine. But the fact is that basically his story in Season 2 is completely pointless and a waste of time. All of his scenes are for comedic relief or to get a laugh out of the audience. Cut to outside the Translucent ceremony where someone is selling a shirt for the overpriced tag of $64. What a ripoff. Starlight and Homelander exit the building to mingle with the commoners and reporters outside. Starlight and Homelander start giving a spiel about the loss, how much it's hurting them, how they are a family, yada yada yada. Then we cut to Huey, who is watching this interview on his smartphone from the comfort of the underground bunker. We then cut to a cross-cutting montage between Annie and Huey, showing them getting ready and emphasizing the contrast of their types of lives they are living. I actually do kind of like this little montage scene here. I think it's pretty effective. What is actually happening here is that Huey and Starlight are trying to be incognito to meet up to exchange information. The place they decide to meet up is the public subway. Okay, the public subway? We're meeting here, really? The public subway?
Did you snap the SIM card?
Yes, I snapped the SIM card, okay? No one followed me down here, and they can't even trace my chip down here. We're okay.
No, it isn't fine, Starlight. Right, this is one of my major issues with the series. The characters and writers do not take the fact that they are wanted felons or very popular celebrities, into account at all. This isn't fine, Starlight. He is a wanted felon, a highly wanted felon, who everybody now has seen his face, and you are basically a celebrity superhero now, and you both are meeting up together in a public subway surrounded by people who will probably see your face and possibly recognize you. Someone is bound to recognize Starlight especially. You think nobody may notice that you are with a wanted criminal going out in a public place like the subway? Why not meet in an alley? That would be more secretive than a frickin' subway, or meet somewhere unpopulated outside the city, like a hiking trail, or a cabin in a camp, or just out in the country, like somewhere where no one's going to see you. This is not the only time this happens in the series, by the way. This is a constant problem throughout the entire season. There are multiple points in the series where there are characters who are wanted or popular, meeting with another character who is wanted or popular, around hundreds of people, and nobody ever seems to notice them, report them. The whole thing with the trailer was saying that they are now wanted felons and that it will be harder for them to get out and about and do things because they are wanted. But the show just completely forgets that's a thing. Nobody ever recognizes them, ever. Nobody even sees hey, that's Starlight, or hey, that's that wanted criminal that blew up Stillwell. Nothing at all. Nobody ever recognizes them once, and you think they would, considering that Vought freaking capitalized on Stillwell's death and making Butcher look like a villain. But no, nobody ever recognizes them. It's like everyone just forgets it happens, and the writers forgot it happened, that they are wanted felons. No, we can't have any of that, because then we wouldn't have a frickin' story. Anyway, Huey then gives Starlight some information about a soup who can possibly help them take down Vought. Annie recognizes him from her past, but still says she can do the job. They end their conversation soon after, and then we get to another comical relief scene with the Deep. This time he is at a water park scaring off kids and giving them a little pep talk on how water is not supposed to be for fun, and kind of a small thing to think about, but isn't the Deep supposed to be keeping a low profile? Wouldn't Vought have issues with him pulling a stunt like this? Wouldn't this hurt his chances even more of getting back into the Seven? Now, I know you can argue that maybe he's emotionally distraught, he doesn't care, or maybe he's even drunk. The scene itself is not too bad, I do find it funny, but I just feel like Vought would have an issue with this, and this would overall hurt his chances of going back in the Seven even more than now. So anyway, the Deep goes to prison for his little water park display, but gets bailed out by Eagle the Archer, who is here to help him. Also, he offers him a fresca, which is supposed to be a joke, but I don't get the joke, it's not funny. I mean, it was maybe kind of weird and awkward the first time, which kind of made it funny, but it's just a running joke that just doesn't land. Oh, you want a fresca? We all want frescas, right? After that, we then cut to some TV news recapping Stillwell's tragic end in a parody reenactment put on by Vought. We then get to see a loose end try to be tied up, Stillwell's baby. If you remember, in Season 1, the baby was brought down by Homelander when Butcher had Stillwell tied up in C4. After Homelander offs Stillwell, Butcher activates the dynamite to blow himself up, only for Homelander to apparently save the baby and him, and show Butcher that his wife is still alive.
Why was Madeline Stillwell's baby found safe in a yard 17 miles away?
17 miles? Homelander flew the baby off 17 miles and just dropped it out in the middle of nowhere? Why? I mean, you may probably argue that he dropped it in the middle of nowhere because he found the baby to be an annoyance. The baby was taking away Stillwell's attention on Homelander, and Stillwell was paying more attention to the baby than him. Because of that, he wanted to get rid of it. Well, sure, maybe, but wouldn't he more want to enact this as a publicity stunt? Wouldn't he want to show the world that he saved the baby so that the world would love him more and that he would get better approval and that kind of things? Because that's what he likes. Homelander is all about image. He loves being seen in the eyes as a hero and being loved and held as the greatest of all of them. Wouldn't he want to use this little situation to further emphasize that? He can have the baby and be like, hey guys, I couldn't save Stillwell, but I was able to save her baby just in the nick of time. Look here, the baby is safe thanks to me. You know, I really feel like he would rather do that than just drop the baby off in the middle of nowhere. Also, the fact that Homelander saved Butcher the baby and they're all perfectly fine is kind of impossible, don't you think? The only way that Homelander could have saved Butcher and the baby is that he would have to move so fast to grab Butcher, grab the baby, and get far enough from the explosion so no harm can be done to them in the short time span between when Butcher pushes the trigger and when the explosion activates. That is a super short time, less than a second. At that speed, Homelander would have to move so fast that the G-force enacted on the baby and Butcher should kill them both instantly. We have seen what instantaneous movement acted on a normal body can do to a human in Season 1 when A-Train ran into Huey's girlfriend. A similar burst of speed would need to be enacted upon Butcher to save him from this explosion. Also, we have the other small problem of the fact that Butcher was willing to blow up an innocent, precious little baby. Isn't Butcher's whole thing that he does not like what the Supes do to normal people, and that the Supes need to be held accountable and stuff? That he actually kind of cares for normal human beings and stuff, and that he has some sense of morality, and that he doesn't want to see innocent people get hurt if they don't have to? If that's the case, why the heck is he blowing up a child, the most innocent kind of human that arguably exists? Butcher thought he was going to die, then just let Homelander kill him, rather than killing him and the innocent, precious little child. You might put out an argument of, well, Butcher maybe thought that the child was Homelander's and Stillwell's, and that it had powers. Okay, it still doesn't take away from the fact that the baby has done nothing. The baby cannot do anything. It is still innocent, and Butcher was willing to blow it up. That's also what I kind of thought the reason why Homelander brought down the baby was for him to use that as leverage and saying, you're not going to blow up this little precious child, are you, Butcher? But I guess not. Butcher was willing to blow up an innocent kid, which kind of makes him quite a psychopathic murderer, doesn't it? Right, so after all of that, we see that the gang is wanted, and not only wanted, but have become most wanted criminals. The boys are upset by this, and MM says they need to get out of the city, which is a good idea. You should leave the city. However, Frenchie says that they don't have money for a passport, and Huey says that maybe they should not run and stay and continue to fight. Firstly, if you can't leave the country, just go somewhere within it. Like go somewhere remote, away from the city, away from Vought, and with no people around. Live in a cabin in the woods like something. It'd be better than living in the city surrounded by people, law enforcement, and the soups. It would be also better than freaking staying in the city where Vought is stationed. The only other option you guys have is to stay down where you are like forever. Huey then proposes that they get some Compound V and expose Vought, but MM says that it's too risky and that it is too dangerous. Next scene is at Stillwell's old office, which is getting renovated. Homelander comes in and sees the place and appears to be missing Stillwell and possibly regretting killing her in the last season. He then finds milk in the fridge, heats it, tries to drink it, and then gets interrupted awkwardly by Ashley, who is now replacing Stillwell. She then tells Homelander that they have a possible candidate to replace Translucent. They then head down to the gym to meet him. This dude's name is Blindspot, and he is obviously this universe's rendition of Daredevil. He is blind, but a fighter and has enhanced senses. He then comes over to Homelander and obviously presents himself as a fan, which obviously should appeal to Homelander. He likes this kind of stuff. Homelander seems to take a liking to the guy and even gives him words of encouragement. But all that is thrown out when Homelander frickin' smashes Blindspot's ears and has him crying and bleeding out profusely. Okay, look, I liked this scene initially. It further showed Homelander's horrific nature that we, either like or don't like to see depending on who you are. Yes, the scene is good for showing that, but it still makes no sense at all. This is a stupid decision made by Homelander. This is just dumb to do. Why would Homelander do this to someone like Blindspot? This doesn't help him or Vought at all. Homelander's whole deal, again, is about his image. He wants to be seen by the public as a hero. He wants to be adored. He loves being adored by as many people as possible. He craves adoration. He craves it. Him doing this would possibly cause problems and potentially harm his image and reputation. I mean, look at all that blood. That's some major damage done to him. Okay, so how are we going to keep from Blindspot from exposing that Homelander damaged him? Is Vought going to have to pay him off, right? Okay, well, what if he doesn't care and still wants to expose them? What if he doesn't care about the money? What then? Is Vought going to kidnap him and hold him hostage? How are they going to do that and not get attention? Blindspot, I assume, similarly to Starlight, is somewhat of an established superhero. You probably can safely assume that Blindspot has some sort of recognition and is a somewhat well-known superhero in the public sphere, right? Wouldn't the public find it odd one day that he suddenly vanished or died? What if he had a family and told the family, hey, I'm off to go for my audition to be in the 7, and then he suddenly disappears or dies or has that damage to his eardrums and possibly brain? You don't think the family is going to probably know who did this? Vought's going to have to either pay them off too. And what if they do not take the money? Are they going to kidnap or kill them too? The family is going to be like, oh, our family member Blindspot was going to Vought for a possible consideration of being in the 7. And then suddenly he has damage done to him. I wonder who did that. Even if they can't pin it on Homelander, they know he was at Vought when it happened, so something happened at Vought. Vought would be in trouble. Okay, look. Let's just say that Vought is somehow able to get away with it because they're so freaking overpowered in this show. Let's say they are somehow able to slip all of this under the rug, right? The point still stands that what Homelander did to him is not worth dealing with the problems that it will cause. It's not worth dealing with the consequences of his actions or the trouble that will arouse from doing it. It's kind of a stupid analogy to make, but basically, to help with the point, it's like shooting someone for calling you a bad name and then you go to jail for it. Was shooting that person worth the life sentence? No? Well, the same should be applied here. Bursting Blindspot's eardrums and possibly damaging him permanently, for Homelander to prove to Ashley that he is the leader of the 7 and not her, is not worth doing it. So many more problems, lawsuits, etc. can arise from just doing this that are not worth dealing with. It's a dumb decision by Homelander. We then go to Starlight, who is now heading to the hotel area to meet the guy named Gecko, who she will get the help of to get the Compound V. While it may seem that this man here and Gecko are in this hotel to get it on, they're actually here to get it on in another way, more or less. See, Gecko here earned some money by letting people live out their fleshly fantasies and chop parts of his body off for their amusement. But he has regenerative abilities to grow any body part back. Based on how this scene is set up, you assume that both Gecko and this man do not want people to know they are here, or this is something they do, right? Which is why they've come to this little shady hotel in the middle of nowhere. But apparently it isn't something secret enough to close the freaking curtains for. Seriously, why do they not do this? Why does a lot of people not do this when they want something secret? Close the frickin' curtains. Sure, the hotel maybe looks abandoned and somewhere remote where nobody may be, but why not do it as a precaution anyway, so that nobody can see you? I mean, they take the precaution to cover the bed so they don't have to explain the blood or deal with the cleaning bill, but they're not going to close the curtains so that if anybody walks by, they aren't discovered? No, the curtains have to be open, otherwise she couldn't have the blackmail. Next, we see a neat transition of MM working on the dollhouse, but gets interrupted when some of Frenchie's dudes come down with a wounded companion. Everyone starts to freak out, and Frenchie talks to one of them to see what happened. This leads to the boys to head out in a van to the site of the incident. They go to a harbor and see a boat on the shore tilted sideways. MM notices that there are cameras where they are and decides to check the footage to see what happened. Kimiko seems to be familiar with the ship and is drawn to it. She then finds some kind of origami fold swan that is just so conveniently on the ground just right outside of the ship for her to find. Checking on the security footage, Frenchie finds out that his guys were not only smuggling drugs, but also people. And somehow Frenchie didn't know.
Human fucking cargo? Jesus Christ, Frenchie.
They didn't tell me.
Why would they tell you? It seems like they wanted to keep this a secret from you because they know you would be upset. The boys see in the footage that one of them is a soup with powers of telekinesis strong enough to lift that frickin' boat. He lifts the boat and throws it at this guy and then runs off. So look at this, right? The soup and this guy start to fight. Then the soup lifts the boat and throws it onto him, which takes him about 6 seconds or so. And in this time, this guy here doesn't try to do anything. He doesn't try to restrain the soup terrorist from using his powers, try to tackle him and pin him down, try to shoot him if he's got a gun. Nothing. He does nothing. Heck, he doesn't even try to run away. He obviously sees what is happening and just doesn't do anything. He just kind of just watches. He doesn't run away, just nothing. He just stands there and just takes the boat. Also, why would the soup lift the boat knowing it takes this long to lift and throw it? Someone could do something to him in this short amount of time it takes him to lift that boat, like tackle him or shoot him. So why not throw something else at him? Why not break the ground beneath him, like we've seen you do in the future? Why not throw like a pole or something? Why not something lighter? You take too long to do this boat, someone can shoot you in that time. I also am going to assume that Frenchie's guys did not know that this guy was a soup, right? Because if they did know he was a soup, then Frenchie's guys are morons. Because they didn't bother to do something like bind his hands and duct tape a rope, knock him unconscious so he can't use his powers. If they knew all this time that he is this dangerous, then I have no idea why they didn't do anything to restrain him. So we have to safely assume that they didn't know, right? Otherwise, this is just dumb on every level. Also, boys, while you guys are here, since it's very clear that these cameras around the area captured you coming in, captured both your van, maybe your license plate and your faces, you might want to erase the footage here or destroy the system so that whenever somebody comes into work and views the footage, they're not going to find you or your faces and stuff. No? Are you seriously not going to erase the footage? Really? Powering on, we go to a focus group research study to see what people think about the terms supervillain and terrorist, as well as saving America and saving the world. Nothing really to criticize here, particularly for me, so I'm just going to go ahead and move on. Next we see the the Deep, just sleeping on the couch. We then see Carol, who is here to offer the Deep both a fresca, again, and membership to their church. They see the Deep is at rock bottom and Archer shows sympathy. Deep is weirded out by all their questions and starts to leave. But then they say they can get the Deep back into the 7 and that piques his interest. Also, just a little note here personally. Not really a major criticism, but just something I noticed. Why not cut the whole thing all the way down? Like, why cut all the way down there and then go sideways and just leave his name there? Why not cut the entire thing off? Just go all the way down. It would be much easier. Also, do you guys notice that this is airing on a channel called LOL TV? Would you watch a channel called LOL TV? Next, we have Kimiko's first attempt to try to tell Frenchie and the boys that the soup terrorist they found at the docks is her brother. She tries to communicate this to Frenchie by first giving her the origami model. She then tries to further communicate by writing the word boy. Frenchie still is confused and asks her what she means by boy, and then she just walks off in frustration. Now, this is a big issue I have with this plot point, with Kimiko and her attempts to communicate. Her methods of trying to communicate that the soup on the docks is her brother to Frenchie and the boys is extremely lackluster and honestly kind of pathetic. Let us examine this. What does she have access to in terms of communication? Well, she can understand English really well, right? Because she can understand Frenchie when he speaks English. She cannot speak at all because she is mute. She, however, has a sign language she made to communicate with her brother, but nobody else can understand, apparently. She hasn't attempted to teach Frenchie any of this yet so far, and she is starting to learn English writing. Right, so she can write the alphabet, and she can write the word boy. We know that she can do that. She shows this to Frenchie, and of course, he is not getting this because no one would. What? You just wrote the word boy. What am I supposed to get from that? She could use this to progress, but she just doesn't. She just gives up. She now knows she wrote boy. Now she needs to try to attempt to find out how to spell brother. She obviously heard, oh, okay, I just told you boy. That's not close to what I'm trying to tell. We gotta try another word. She now needs to try to attempt to find out how to spell brother. Or what if she could try a few other things? Firstly, she can try to play charades or something, use your hands, gestures, anything to kind of help. But she doesn't even attempt to do this. Use your hands in a way that maybe he could understand. Or she could try to draw something to communicate that the soup on the docks is her brother. For example, she could draw a recreation of the tape footage of her brother throwing the boat onto the docks. She can draw a guy throwing a boat onto the docks, and then Frenchie and the other boys will understand what she is talking about. Then once she has established that, she can point to herself, then her head, then to the drawing to simulate that she knows him. And that would totally change the name of the game. But you may say, oh, she didn't see the security camera footage. Maybe that is true. For some reason, she didn't go to the boys and see the security camera footage, since it is not shown that she saw it. Okay, well then she can draw a picture of a stick figure family, point to the children, and establish they are siblings, draw an arrow to the girl's sibling of the family drawing and say that is me, by pointing to the stick figure and then pointing at herself. That is me. And then point to the brother and then establish that that is the soup. And she can use gestures, pointing at herself, pointing at the drawings, anything. She can try anything, but she doesn't do it. And we don't know this for sure, but if they do still have access to the security camera footage from the docks, she can show that, pause on her brother, point to him, and then point to her own heart to simulate that she loves him. Or point to her head to say that I know him. There are so many ways in which she can try to communicate this to the boys, and she just doesn't do it. She writes boy, he doesn't understand, and she just walks off and gives up so easily. She doesn't try anything. She doesn't try hand gestures, drawings, nothing. She keeps trying the boy-girl thing, and it never anything else. She never tries any other attempt. Can she not try a cell phone? And also, the fact that she isn't trying harder is also annoying because the boys later want to capture him and give him up to the CIA. Or also, if the boys are going after him, there is a danger that the brother may end up killing them while they try to capture him. These are possible outcomes, and she could just stop all of this from happening simply by communicating to them that she knows the soup from the docks. All she has to do is establish that she knows him, and that changes everything for the boys in terms of how they are going to proceed with the soup terrorist. But she barely does anything. She tries twice, and that's it. Okay, so after all that, Frenchie says that his crew were wired money from a blind account to smuggle the soup terrorist in. Huey does not like that he is loose and wants to do something about it. He starts suggesting ideas like the CIA lady and Starlight could possibly help. butts in and saying that she cannot be called because her phone is bugged by Vought. And then Huey seems surprised by this. Huh? Huey, you seem to know this already. When you met with her the first time, you asked if she snapped the SIM card, indicating that you may fear that the card could be traced or tracked or something by Vought, right?
Did you snap the SIM card?
Yes, I snapped the SIM card, okay?
Based on this, it appears that you know her stuff is traced, as well as have the knowledge that she has a tracker inside her body. But you somehow forget that maybe Vought also tracks or bugged her actual cell phone? Really? You either forgot that Vought keeps tabs on the superheroes, or somehow didn't think that Vought possibly bugs their soup's phones.
Listen, we helped the CIA lady. She could help you maybe get back to your family. Did you ever think of that?
Yeah, why did no one think of that? The CIA lady could help. Better to try something than nothing. Anyway, next we get to see Annie meet up with Gecko in a restaurant. They have a friendly little greeting. Annie gives a little spiel about God being dead and then asks Gecko to go into Lab 67 where he works to get her a sample of Compound V. Gecko pretends to not know what it is, and then she brings out the blackmail to force Gecko to get her Compound V. Maybe a little more persuading could have helped, but okay. Oh, yay, this scene. Okay, let's go through this. So then we cut to Homelander and Queen Maeve doing a campaign promotional for Saving America. And this is where we get introduced to Stormfront, a character who is, well, quite something. She is live streaming her first encounter with Homelander and Queen Maeve. She also shows that the location they are in is not a real base and that it's just set up for the campaign. Homelander and Queen Maeve come over to Stormfront to see what she is about. Homelander says he must get back to work, but is stopped when Stormfront reveals she is the new member of the Seven, approved by the boys on 82, but not Homelander. Obviously, Ashley is scared pretty badly considering what Homelander did last time to the new potential recruit for the Seven, and Stormfront showcases Ashley's fear to all of her live viewers. Now, why would she do this? In fact, why would Vought let her do this? Live streaming all of this has the potential to hurt Vought as a brand and as a whole, and also hurt Homelander's reputation as a whole. She is showcasing that the base set is fake, which would probably be very unappreciated by the viewers at large, right? They would now have to put a disclaimer on this ad and say this is a set and not real. And some people would probably say this is kind of a cheap move to do, right? Also, she is showcasing that Ashley here is very frightened to all her viewers.
No, I don't think that it's not true. I don't know anything about this.
Wow. Well,
Why would you want to show that to the mass audience as a whole? It is very obvious that she is very clearly frightened by Homelander, and Homelander is having a hard time concealing his frustration with her. And the whole world is now able to see this. Seeing this, the viewers are probably thinking, she seems to be terrified of Homelander. Isn't that a little odd? Isn't Homelander a good guy? Something seems to be going on here. Again, all this points back to the point of why would Vought let her do this? Especially when she becomes a member of the Seven, why would she want to make Vought look bad if she is in Vought herself? Wouldn't that hurt her reputation? Alright, following that, we go to the boys plus one girl who are on their way to meet CIA lady.
You want to get back together with Starlight?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
Yes, you do. You just said in the last scene that you miss her a lot to Frenchie and MM.
I don't have a job. Or Robin, or my dad, or Annie.
What the heck, Huey? Okay, so they finally arrive to meet CIA lady. If you remember, her name is Raynor. They give her information about the soup terrace from the docks. Raynor says that she's been trying to put together this mystery and that she may finally found the missing piece thanks to the boys. She implies that this whole soup terrace thing is all done by Vought and is a coup from the inside. But before she could say anything more, her head spontaneously combusts like the shark from Jaws the Revenge. And this spooks the boys quickly to head out, wondering what the heck just happened. The next scene is in Edgar's office, where Homelander comes to visit to talk about his disapproval of the new recruitment Stormfront. He threatens to leave Vought after his contract expires at the end of the year, saying that Vought is nothing without him. Edgar then starts to explain the history of the company and the history of the founder to Homelander to make his point. Homelander then asks Edgar what the point of all this is.
the point is that you are under a misconception that we are a superhero company. We are not. What we are, really, is a pharmaceutical company.
No, you're not. Sure, the Compound V is the most valuable asset. Yes, that's true. Since it is how you created Homelander and how you created all the soups that you make a profit off of. But you're not a pharmaceutical company, at least not yet. Everything about your brand, the company's image, how you make money, is based off the superheroes entirely. The TV shows, the toys, everything. The soups are your biggest selling point, especially Homelander. Sure, maybe you can become a pharmaceutical company once the V is out and publicly known, but up to this point your money's made off the soups entirely. Also, you must realize that if Vought were to reveal the Compound V to the world and sell it, then the Seven would not be a thing. There would be no point to the Seven anymore, because people can just buy the V and create superheroes themselves. And this would also frustrate Homelander, wouldn't it, since he loves being attention and above everyone else in terms of power? Wouldn't this kind of make him go cuckoo a little bit? Maybe? No? And after this little meaning, Homelander goes back to the house where Becca and his son is so that Homelander can see him. We then cut to the boys underground clearing all the blood and guts from their clothes and hair.
Fuck, Huey. So glad you got us into this shit.
What the heck, MM? You went along with Huey because of the chance you get to see your family again. You approved of y'all going. This ain't 100% Huey's fault. MM concludes that whoever did this does not want the boys dead, and that the reason the deputy director of the CIA is dead is because she was going to reveal something that she wasn't supposed to, and exploded her head to keep her silent. Huey then gets a call from Starlight. Somehow MM is not intervening here, considering he should be able to hear Huey talking to Starlight, and is not upset by this, even though he was upset in the last scene. Starlight says that Gecko will be getting them the Compound V here soon, and that they should plan on how to use it to expose Vaught. Huey then says they are going too fast and that they should take it slow and make sure to be careful. Starlight starts to get suspicious and asks Huey what happened, and he says nothing, just Vaught is dangerous. Starlight tells Huey she knows he is lying and tells him to not lie again like he did before. Huey does the dumb thing and lies again for no reason, and very obviously too. Like, it's very obvious that you're lying. Anyone can tell. It's in your voice. Also, why do you not want to tell her what happened? It could be useful to know that there is an unknown soup out there with the power to blow up people's heads. That would be something for her to look into. Maybe she can get some info about the possible person's identity, and also who may have this power. Maybe Vaught knows and she can figure it out, but Huey doesn't tell her, and I don't know why. Maybe he doesn't want her to worry. Maybe he thinks the phone is bugged. Who knows? After the phone call, a random bloke gets tossed down the steps. The boys step in to prep for a possible fight, but it is revealed to be Butcher. He is finally back. Huey then looks at Frenchie, and it is revealed to him that Frenchie called him. Butcher says that he is now home and that there is no problems to worry about. And that's where episode 1 ends. So we move now on to episode 2. We begin the episode with Butcher in a chair in the underground base writing down as many things as he can remember about the location of his wife. Somehow he is able to know the exact temperature of the sun, or maybe this is just an estimated guess on his part. But what is the fact he wrote down the wind's direction. I don't see how this is supposed to help you find the location of Becca. The wind's direction is not determined by wherever you are in the world, but whatever. We then cut back in time where Butcher was dropped off at the restaurant parking lot after seeing Becca. Somehow nobody noticed Butcher just lying there in the middle of the day, and no one's ever bothered to check to see if he was alright or maybe even dead. No, just people just leave him lying there in the middle of the day. Maybe they thought he was a useless drunk or something. He then gets into the restaurant to find out where he is exactly. The hostess tells him, and then Butcher asks for a pen and paper so he can write down as much as he can about Becca's location. While this is happening, Butcher's wanted poster gets shown on the screen, and the hostess looks at him with much fright before Butcher storms off out of the restaurant. Going back to the base, we see Butcher says he is off to meet a contact who will help them find the soup terrorists. Huey wants to know exactly who he's meeting, but Butcher does not say and brushes it off. Huey then starts to get upset that Butcher left them for dead. Butcher replies with,
"You're right. I am sorry. Sorry that I trusted this lot was smart enough to save themselves like they've done 100 times before."
That still doesn't make up for the fact that you left them all for dead, Butcher. Also, what makes you think Huey could handle himself? You know he is not experienced with this kind of thing yet. And you left him out there in the middle of nowhere. And also, Frenchie and MM were captured in a prison in the middle of nowhere, and you expected them to get out on their own, like so easily? Really? Doesn't matter if you expected them to get out, you still left them to die, Butcher. You are still a prick.
He blew up Madeline Stillwell.
I told ya. She was already dead when I blew her up.
Yeah, but the baby wasn't blown up yet, Butcher. You gonna explain that point? We then cut to Homelander, who is playing catch with his son and trying to make conversation and build a relationship with him. It seems Homelander is not approving of his son's lackluster performance and asks him to use his powers. Ryan says he can't, and Homelander gives him a little spiel that will help him realize his potential. Becca interrupts and says it is time for Ryan to go inside for mass so that she and Homelander can talk. Homelander wants his son to be just like him, powers and all, but Becca wants him to have a normal childhood. We then get to some more scenes with the Deep. You know, with these Deep scenes, I think I'm honestly going to skip most of them, because honestly, it's just a waste of time. In terms of what the Deep arc leads to, these scenes are honestly not important. Or I may just go through the important aspects of the Deep scenes, if there happens to be any. So anyway, with this scene, Archer gives the Deep tea, Deep drinks the tea, is about to hallucinate, and that's it. Next scene. We move on to see a campaign Vought is putting out called Girls Get It Done, promoting feminism and female superheroes. Starlight is filming a news channel section introducing the world to Stormfront. This little press stunt is interrupted when Maeve gets a call from her past girlfriend, Elena, which we briefly met in season 1. It appears she is in some sort of trouble, and Maeve skedads while flipping the bird to Ashley. We then cut to Susan Raynor's funeral, in which a character we have seen before, Grace, is attending. She then goes to her car in the parking lot where Butcher is waiting. Grace wants to turn him in for murdering Madeline Stillwell, but Butcher says he could help her catch the person who murdered Rayner. Butcher implies that he thinks that the one who did this is the soup terrorist from the docks and convinces her to hear him out. We then go back to the Deep again, who finds out that his gills are talking to him in the voice of Patton Oswalt. Oswald gills say that the Deep has always had a self-esteem problem and that the Deep feels ashamed to have gills. The gills say that he would always humiliate girls and people first so that he himself would not be humiliated first. This talk starts to freak the Deep out and he tries to get out of his room, but Archer and the woman locked it. The Deep, a strong superhero, cannot break down a wooden door. How strong is that lock that he cannot do anything? Last time I checked, he does have some super strength to him, right? You don't think he would be able to break down a normal wooden door? We then go back to May visiting her girlfriend who apparently almost had her appendix burst. Nothing too important in this scene, we're gonna go ahead and move on from it. We are now back with Girls Get It Done. The press starts to ask some silly questions like if the girls are better than boys at being superheroes and stuff like that. Stormfront butts in saying that neither are better and that boys and girls are all in it together. Now, I'm going to take this opportunity to address something that I think is kind of odd or suspicious in terms of the show. This is not going to be a really strong criticism, it's more of an observation really that I seem to notice. I'm going to have to get a little political here, but just bear with me. So it appears that this show likes to bring in an equation factor to the characters, right? Like, let me explain. So we know that around the world we have people who like to label and dismiss you if you behave or have beliefs that they do not approve of. Like, let's take the Gina Carano debacle with The Mandalorian, right? People were trying to get her canceled and trying to get her fired because she made and liked some tweets that had to do with like mask wearing, voter fraud, etc. that didn't line up with their beliefs, right? Or better yet, that Black Panther actress who said something that they didn't like and people were starting to accuse her of things like transphobia, homophobia, bigoted, etc. Gina Carano and the Black Panther actress don't conform to the ideologies of these certain people, so these certain people try to make them seem like they're a horrible person, like the worst in the world. So why am I bringing this up? Because the same implication seems to apply to certain characters in this show. Stormfront doesn't believe that men are better than women and vice versa. This seems to be an uncontroversial viewpoint that seems reasonable, right? But it's revealed later that she is a Nazi and a terrible person. What I mean by when I say the show has an equation factor is saying a person who believes such and such is secretly a Nazi, or a person who believes such and such is secretly a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe, etc. Because people in this show who have like uncontroversial viewpoints, I feel, in the modern day and age, turn out to be like the worst people in the show. Stormfront believes that men and women are equal, and because she believes that, she is a Nazi.
It's kind of like a writing technique. It's also done with like PR and political stuff as well. Essentially, it's just a way of manipulating the viewer's opinion on things. You present something that most people would agree with, and then you say, oh, but this is attached to the worst person ever, therefore it's bad.
I think that was supposed to set up the whole idea that, oh, all of these people who claim to be egalitarians, who claim that maybe gender doesn't matter and you should focus on your own merits and talents and individuals, yeah, they're actually fucking Nazis.
Yes.
I hope this is making sense to y'all what I'm saying here. I guess another example I could say is like an equivalent of the God's Not Dead movies, in which everyone in the film who does not believe in God or who is not a Christian behaves in a very a-hole way, just for no reason at all. It's basically an equivalent. I know this observation might be a stretch, but considering how obvious the anti-MAGA angle of the show is, I cannot help but notice it, regardless of where any viewer lies on the political spectrum. Maybe it is a worthy observation, or maybe not, but I just cannot seem to unnotice it. Seems kind of very blatantly obvious to me. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. We're just gonna go ahead and move on. The reporters then ask Starlight about A-Train and if she is worried about him. She says of course she is worried and that she prays for his recovery. But then the reporters reveal that whoop-de-doo, A-Train is up and running and out of his coma. In a little conversation after the interview, Starlight talks to A-Train and A-Train tells her that he still remembers about her fearing Huey and the boys, which brings Starlight with a new problem to deal with. We then go to the boys' base and Butcher tells the gang that he has made a deal with Grace. In exchange for the soup terrorists, Grace will wipe their records clean and become unwanted. Wait, really? She can just do that? Like that? Just a snap of the finger, she can make them unwanted criminals just like that? How would that even work in the first place? I do not believe that you can just wipe a record completely clean, especially one of their record. And let's just say she can, right? What are they gonna do about VOD? VOD has used Butcher's supposed criminal act to market and capitalize off of the death of Stillwell. They made frickin' ads about it. They made a recreation of it and showed it on public television, so people obviously know about it, right? Is Grace gonna go to Vought and tell them to get rid of the ad and that they are now unwanted? You think she has any power over the corporate overlords at Vought? You think Vought is gonna just willingly go along with this? It's not that simple to just wipe a slate clean from everything. It's really not. Oh well, Butcher says that he has the address of the place that owns the bank account that paid for the smuggle of the soup terrorist, and that is the place to start looking for the soup terrorist. Oh, more Patton Oswalt gills singing and stuff. We're not going to focus on this. We're just going to move on. All that happens is now the Deep seems to be more accepting of himself and of his gills. We see Stormfront continuing to piss all over Vought, and Vought's just letting her do this, I guess, while Starlight tells her that she appreciates her doing so. Stormfront then antagonizes Starlight by saying she is the Voughtiest of all Vought. But their conversation is interrupted when, what the heck? Why are you here to give her the V here in Vought headquarters? This is not really that secretive. Why the heck would you do this at Vought headquarters surrounded by Vought personnel and probably security cameras, you stupid lump? Someone could be watching you right now doing this. The cameras could. They could be recording you. Stormfront almost saw you as well. Like, you're supposed to keep this little thing a secret, and you decide that the best place to give Annie the Compound V, the super secret Compound V, that Vought really does not want to get out, is at Vought headquarters surrounded by Vought personnel. You are putting yourself in danger, Gecko. Anyone can see you and think, oh, this is kind of suspicious. Anyone could be watching you like freaking A-Train, baby. A-Train comes in and asks what she'd put in her boot, and she says nothing. A-Train decides to inspect her boots but finds nothing on her. Hey, A-Train, you want to go question Gecko? I mean, you saw them interact, so I assume you saw Gecko give something to Starlight. You would assume that what she put in her boot was something given to her by Gecko. You think you maybe want to go ask him? Also, it is very clear that Starlight put the pouch in Stormfront's bag, and I guess A-Train did not notice this. Really? Like, it's so noticeable. How can you not see that? Okay, jumping in, back to Becca and Ryan is being dropped off for piano lessons. She then quickly drives off to some kind of checkpoint. We see that Ryan and her are living in some kind of facility supervised by Vought, completely blocked off and surrounded by high walls. Actually, how big is this facility? It would have to be massive for Ryan to have no chance of never seeing the walls or getting any suspicious that he's kind of entrapped, wouldn't he? Also, everyone in this facility must be Vought employees or something, because they have to know they are in this little prison facility, right? Like all the neighbors and other people that live in houses, they have to know that they're in prison. Where is the facility located? Because I think it is quite improbable, dang near impossible, that no one on the outside had ever come across this place and think, huh, what is this facility? This place has been around for at least 6 years. Do you think that nobody stopped by at all? Nobody ever came across it just by accident? Really? Think somebody maybe could come across and take a picture of the gigantic wall and post it on social media? Okay, well then. Anyway, Becca gets to the checkpoint and wants to talk to Dr. Park. Dr. Park rings up and he says that Homelander was quite upset that his son was concealed from him and that Vought has chosen not to antagonize him any further or even do anything in regards to their situation.
Just keep him calm. Our best guess, he'll get bored and move on.
Hopefully he will get bored. That is the plan? Really, Vought? Yeah, okay, I guess he will just get bored and move on. Wow, okay, that's what a great plan. Going back to Maeve and Elena asks Maeve why she is here, if nothing has changed between the two of them. Maeve then implies that Homelander seems to kill anyone that tries to get close to her, and that she doesn't want that to happen to Elena. Then why are you here, Maeve? Why would you come here if that is the case? Wouldn't being around Elena further endanger her more? If Homelander has a tendency to kill people who get close to you or tries to build a relationship with you, then wouldn't you want to protect Elena by staying away from her as much as possible? I know you came here to support her and stuff, but if her safety is of concern to you, then you need to stay away and imply that there is no relationship between the two of you, if this is the case. You have a chip in you as well. Vought knows where you are, and Homelander could probably find out. You should be moving away. You should stay away from Elena if that is the case. Not really the best idea to be around her like this. Come on. We then cut back to the Becca Liello homestead, where Homelander is giving his son a phone and a little pep talk. Now, I will interject something here that I do like about the show, since we've been kind of criticizing it up to this point, and that is the interactions between Homelander and Ryan. it is clear that Homelander is actually trying to form a real relationship with his son and sees it as a possible chance to fill a void within himself. I actually think in some ways he does care about Ryan legitimately, and it is interesting to see both of their characters work off of each other. I do really like the scenes where he's interacting with the son. I think it does quite add a lot to the season, even though I feel that some of the stuff Homelander talks about to his son is kind of weird.
You and me. We're gods.
That is cringe as all get out. You don't even know how powerful your son is yet.
Son, we can do anything we want, and no one can stop us.
Yeah, Vought has stopped you many times before, just like in the last episode. Becca tells Homelander to get out of the house, but Homelander starts to give a little spiel to her.
What happens one day when Ryan asks to go to a baseball game? Eat at a Burger King. How do you think he's going to feel when he finds out that you've lied to him his whole life?
What? He has never asked that before, ever? An 8-year-old kid has never asked to go to a Burger King or a baseball game or something that's not inside this facility? There's no way that's the case. You think he would be thinking already why his mom has not taken him to any of these specific things, right? What excuse would she even give to Ryan when he wants to go somewhere that is outside of the VOD facility? Oh no, son, we can't go to a baseball game because... they don't exist. Let's even give the show that. Let us buy into the impossibility that Ryan has never asked to do something or go somewhere that is not inside this VOD area, right? Even if that were the case at some point, he is going to become smart enough and to detect all of the BS surrounding this place. And Homelander says, what will she do when Ryan finds out she lied to him? Well, she could just tell him why they are here. Because your father rapoded me and Vought concealed us here so that we couldn't harm his reputation. Becca can make all of this make sense to Ryan without Ryan hating her, like very easily. It wasn't her that lied, Ryan. It was Vought who forced me to lie to you. And it's Homelander's fault that we are in this prison in the first place. Sure, maybe he might get a little upset at the mother at first, but she can carefully explain it to him. After all, the mother's the person that Ryan trusts the most, right?
I'm not gonna get bored and move on.
Oh, Homelander was listening to that conversation with Dr. Park? Well, Doctor, looks like your plan of hopefully he'll get bored failed absolutely fantastically. Alright, moving on. We go to the boys infiltrating the shop to get the soup terrorist. Kimiko comes across the shop owner who happens to be in the Shining Light Liberation Army, the group who kidnapped her in the first place, and she rips his head off. Frenchie finds out and starts to wonder what is going on here. Kimiko gets the high ground and finds her brother and they reunite finally. Frenchie and Huey see this and Frenchie then realizes that, oh, it's her brother. Huey then goes off and tells Butcher that this soup is her brother, but Butcher doesn't care and goes for a shot anyway. Butcher, you know that if you shoot him, Kimiko could probably get upset and maybe give your ass a good whooping, right? If you shoot the brother, I don't think she'd be happy about that and probably do some major physical damage to you for doing so. And even if Butcher were to shoot both Kimiko and her, Frenchie's going to be upset, and Butcher's going to have to explain this to him. Well, no matter, Huey steps in and stops the shop from hitting him, and of course the soup sees this, retaliates by bringing the shop on top of all the boys. Then he and his sister run out and escape. All of this could have been just avoided if she just easily communicated with him that he was her brother before the mission. Next we see Starlight trying to get the Compound V sample back from Stormfront's bag. She tries to persuade Stormfront that she is no sellout to Vought. Stormfront asks Starlight why does she care what she thinks and why she doesn't just say anything because she is bulletproof and can't get hurt. Stormfront goes on and talks about how Pippi Longstocking is her hero and that she would dress up as her for every Halloween and how people would make fun of her. Stormfront says she didn't care what others thought of her and tells Starlight that she should be more antagonizing to those who are antagonizing of her. Back to the boys, they question why the hell Butcher tried to shoot her brother anyway since she is a member of the team. He reveals to the boys finally that Becca is alive and that in exchange for the terrorist, Mallory will help him get his wife back. Knowing this, he asks the boys for help and the boys agree to help him. We then go to Kimiko and Mouse talking about their pains they went through as a child and letting their feelings out with each other. Kimiko apologizes for not trying hard enough to find him, but he says it isn't her fault in regards to what happened to both of them. And then they have a loving embrace. Nothing wrong really with this scene here. We can go ahead and move on. Oh my goodness, this scene. Okay, I am gonna break down why this scene is so dumb in so many ways. So Starlight is in her room when lo and behold A-Train pops in. He then grabs the Compound V from her boot and then is off to expose her to the Vought executives and to Homelander. Then Starlight remembers what Stormfront said about her being more antagonizing and having an attitude and decides to use some blackmail against A-Train. She says that he won't say a thing because if he does, she will expose that he murdered Popclaw. Ooh, sounds like something. How do you plan to do that, Starlight?
I looked at the Vought forensics report, and all those needles jammed into her arm at the same time. And one of them actually shattered the bone. Doesn't look like an accident to me.
So you have nothing, Starlight. You have absolutely no leverage against A-Train. And it's true. Seriously, she has no leverage against A-Train. Everything is in A-Train's favor still here. Okay, so she said she is going to expose that he killed Popclaw. Okay, how are you going to prove that he did it and only him? So what's Exhibit A? There were multiple needles in the arm. Okay, that doesn't prove that he did it. That happens all the time. Anyone could have done that, anyone. That doesn't prove anything. She could have done that to herself still. Somebody else could have. This doesn't incriminate A-Train at all. You got anything else, Starlight?
I mean, one of them actually shattered the bone.
Breaking the bone? Vought can just say that Popclaw did that to herself too. Popclaw's a frickin' strong soup. Strong enough to squat those weights and smash someone's face. I think with that strength, it can be argued that she is strong enough to break the bone with the needle. And A-Train is not the only soup who would be capable of this. There are so many other soups that could be incriminated. Heck, maybe Starlight could be incriminated. And also, Starlight has not considered Vought being in the problem. They can just come out and say Starlight is lying, present their report and the evidence, rule it as a suicide, and then that's it. The point is that Starlight has no conclusive evidence at all. There is no hard evidence that proves that A-Train is the one who killed Popclaw. Multiple needles in the arm is not incriminating enough to prove that A-Train killed her. The needle breaking the bone is not incriminating enough to prove that A-Train killed her. None of these are. It is only Starlight's words against his. Also, why would Vought let Starlight read this report anyway? How did she even get her hands on it? A-Train, what are you doing? You could still keep the sample of the V, you know. Use it as insurance to make sure she can't expose V to the world or whatever she's planning, and also keep it as insurance that she cannot do anything to you. And if she demands that you give back the V or she will tell on you, you can say, no, I'm gonna keep it as insurance so I have my leverage on you. And if you expose me, I'm going to use this V to expose you. That way, if one exposes the other, we are both guaranteed to go down. You can still have blackmail on each other and still keep the compound V. You don't need to give it back to her. But oh well, he gives it back to her and we move on with the next scene. We go back to Kimiko and Mouse tells Kimiko that his village where they are from was destroyed by a soup, and that he is here in America to take revenge on Vought and the soups by fighting them with his new powers. Kimiko says this isn't a good idea and that he shouldn't be working for Shining Light since they are the ones who murdered their parents. Mouse still says he must do this for justice and tries to walk off, but Kimiko tries to stop him. Mouse blows her into the car and then he tries to run away. Then we start to have a little chase scene here. Kimiko gets the upper hand and knocks Mouse out, and the boys just happen to find them right when this happens. Also, during this scene, Mouse throws Kimiko into a building using his powers. It is very important that you remember this detail. The boys put Mouse in the back and then Butcher punches Huey for no reason. And Huey is caught quite off guard and hurt by this.
You come between me and my missus again, I'll fucking kill you.
Butcher, Huey didn't know about your wife when you made the miss earlier, you dummy. You told him after the fact, remember? Anyway, they get in the car and escape, and that is how this episode ends. Alright, we are halfway through part 1. Let's go ahead and keep going. We begin episode 3 with the boys on a boat in the middle of the ocean, and Huey is listening to some Billy Joel to calm his nerves. Butcher comes in saying he wants to apologize and that he wasn't right in the head when he punched Huey in the last episode. But Huey doesn't take his apology lightly and lands a blow right on Butcher's face before MM comes in to calm Huey down. After that, Butcher gets a call from Mallory saying that a team of hers will be there in a few hours to pick up the asset, Kimiko's brother. Grace asks Butcher he has heard of an old soup named Liberty. He replies with what this has to do with anything. Yeah, Grace, what does this have to do with anything? It feels like this was just shown in there for the sake of the audience to remember Liberty because she's going to be an important part in the next episode, but okay. Mallory continues questioning if the allegiance of Kimiko will be changed since the asset is her brother. Butcher says that if her alliance does change, he will neutralize her. Yeah, good luck with that, Butcher. You're gonna try to neutralize Kimiko, a soup? Also, I don't think you realize how upset Frenchie would be if you did that, or even heard you say. I mean, imagine the look on his face if he was to listen to, oh, wow, looky there, my goodness, he was listening to it already, how hilarious. And Kimiko apparently heard too. Good luck, Butcher. Continuing on, we see Kimiko visit her brother who is tied up in a metal pole and whose hands are duct taped together. This is an important note because it tells the audience that the power he possesses is not in his head, but but in his hands. This little plot note is important information in regards to something else I will critique later in the episode. Kamiko says to her brother that she will take care of him despite his circumstance. His brother retaliates, saying he takes care of her too and that he must be let go, otherwise the Americans will torture him for information and such. He also reassures her that he doesn't want to hurt anyone. Well, if you really don't want to hurt anyone, I don't think you would have thrown Kamiko into an apartment building. You could have hurt someone there, you know. After that, we move on to a party where A-Train is located to be chillin' out. He gets up to leave, but right as he exits the building, he starts having heart problems. This plotline is not really too important after episode 4, because pretty much after episode 4, nobody remembers that A-Train has heart problems. We'll get to that later. Blowing on to the next scene, we see Homelander, Ryan, and Becca having a tense breakfast with each other and eating some delicious pancakes. I do like just how superior and narcissistic the expression on Homelander's face is. The type of presence he gives off here is really effective. Homelander and Ryan then go outside to have some bonding time. But we didn't finish having the delicious breakfast. We should eat more pancakes. Aww. We go to the storyboard meeting with some soups looking at some storyboards for Dawn of the Seven, which is directly mocking Zack Snyder's Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice. And I approve of this wholeheartedly. The more we acknowledge how terribly written BVS is, the better. After the director finishes giving his storyboard and Ashley applauds like a monkey and starts a fanboy over their project, Stormfront butts in to give some criticisms of the script.
You write all women as either unknowable Hitchcock bitches or Michael Bay fuck dolls?
I do agree with that, Stormfront. Michael Bay does love his sex dolls. Ashley tries to counterpoint, saying Homelander loves the script, and Stormfront bounces back, saying he ain't here, so he must not care too much about the project. Before this little confrontation continues, Ashley gets a notification that Compound V existence has been released to the public. Edgar tells Ashley that she just needs to focus on keeping the soups in check, and that Homelander will know when Edgar wants him to know. Well, if he sees a TV report, then I don't think you have control over that, Edgar, but okay. We then see Starlight reacting to the news, revealing Compound V to the world, and A-Train butts in to ask what the heck did she do.
Come on, I saw you with the V in your hand.
Yeah, and you let me walk away with it. So,
Yeah, I should have held on to that V in the past episode, A-Train. After their little talk, we go to another deep scene, and one that actually exists for more than just comedic relief, one that actually is kind of decent. He talks about how he would hear animals begging for their lives when he started exhibiting his powers, and how all this could have been avoided since he was made this way and not born this way due to the Compound V. I like the scene fine, since it serves an overall purpose other than just a joke, as most of the other Deep scenes do, and it kind of delves a teensy bit into the character of the Deep. But anyway, after seeing the funny side of Black Noir crying over finding out he wasn't born with such swagger, we cut to Huey reacting to the news of the V. He seems all giddy and happy about it, and when the boys come in, they are excited too. Well, except Butcher, that is. Also, I just noticed how he is calling Starlight just out of nowhere. I thought they only called when needed and thought he would be more careful considering that Vought may have their phones bugged. Well, anyway, back to Butcher being an ass.
Been trying to do this shit for years. Vaught's finally fucking going down. The kid did it, and nice one.
All right, real nice one.
Butcher, you think you could maybe just be a little more excited? The company that took away everything you love and changed your life for the worse is about to go down. Now, some may argue that the reason he isn't excited is because that his goal isn't to take down Vought anymore. It is to get his wife back, and that is it. Sure, that may be true, but considering all that Vought has done to him, you think he would be at least a little more excited, right? Like just a smile, something? Just anything? He just like, oh, nice one, and just walks off. This is not really an objective criticism, I know. This is more of a personal thing. I feel like he would be a little more excited considering all the stuff he's been through and trying to take down the company. Up next, we have Homelander giving his son his first flight lessons off the roof. Ryan is hesitant, saying this isn't a good idea and that he doesn't want to do it. But Homelander gives him some nice fatherly encouragement by pushing him off the roof and Ryan falling flat on his face. Homelander does not look too happy about the results of the first attempt. Becca comes out all shocked and frightened, trying to wake up his son, and Homelander is saying, oh, he's fine, just let him be. Ryan awakens and Becca gets furious at Homelander for what he did. Homelander does not take the words well and grabs Becca's arm in a threatening manner. Ryan finally gets fed up and finally uses his powers to push down Homelander. Both Becca and Ryan tell Homelander to leave them alone, and Homelander is left outside. We're back to the ship, and Frenchie decides to have a chat with Kamiko's brother. He tells the brother that he wants to help his sister and asks if he can teach him some of her language. He refuses, and Frenchie just leaves the room, but sets his soda can aside so that the brother can use it to escape. Okay, So what is the extent of his powers? Is it in his hands? But from the look of the scene, it has like one finger out, so he can move an object at least somewhat. So I guess it's in his hands and fingers. Like, okay, so if your hands are binded up, you can't use your powers, but if a finger's loose, you can. And also, if he can crush a can with just his fingers, I assume he could do the same to like the organs and bones of a human being. Heck, maybe he could injure a soup by crushing an organ or a valuable body part. Like an eyeball. Also, why does he need the can? Can he not use anything else in the room, like a drawer or a piece of wood, something? Like, does he really need the can? We don't know the extent of his powers. We really need to know. Next, we see Maeve getting upset that she was lied to, like all of the other soups, and that she was made by Compound V. And she is talking about this and venting about this with Elena? Wait, what? Why would you be talking to Elena here in the middle of VOD on level 99 with the door open? If your whole thing is to keep Elena a secret and keep it away from Homelander, why would you be talking to her out loud in an open room in VOD Tower on floor 99 with the door open? This isn't secretive at all. You're not even trying, Maeve. Homelander could just waltz in at any moment. Oh, yeah, like that. Exactly. Now that Homelander comes in, he seems peculiar about who she was talking to. Uh-oh, how convenient for him. Maeve tries to brush it off and says that he was just using her to vent about all the BS regarding the reveal of Compound V, which Homelander, at this point, still hasn't found out yet. Back to the boys, a police copter finds the boat and says that their boat was stolen. Butcher tries to reason with the police copter, but gets suddenly interrupted when the anchor almost hits him dead in the head. This was done by Mouse, who is now free from his encapturement. Now, one thing I do not understand is why doesn't Mouse just use his powers on Butcher himself rather than throw things at him, which has the potential to miss? It has been set up in the last episode that Mouse can clearly enact his powers on a human body like he did with his sister. So why doesn't he do something as such to the boys? Because it is a guarantee he will not miss and hit his target every time. Anyway, the anchor misses Butch, and while Kamiko is trying to restrain Mouse, he accidentally crashes the police copter. Huey says that maybe they should help them, but Butcher says they are already dead and that they must leave immediately. Huey tries to offer some help anyway by throwing the life preserver. Quickly going back to the Deep, we see that the church sees the situation regarding the boys on the dock and see it as an opportunity for the Deep to get back in the Seven and become a hero again. The Deep agrees and he decides to head out and become a superhero. Meanwhile, the executives of VOD are scrambling, trying to maintain and clean up the Compound V situation with stocks and trades plummeting. But Edgar finds out about the soup terrorists on the boys' ship and sees an opportunity to distract the public from Compound V. Getting back to the ship, the boys now need a new plan for handing over the brother. Mallory says that they will now have to deliver him themselves to the CIA safe house in Hazlitt. Huey gives Starlight an other call and tells her that he sees Annie has his second win in relation to the Billy Joel music video he was watching earlier. He feels like Starlight is the only one who can help him now. Jumping up again to floor 99, we see Edgar meeting with the Soups about the situation. A-Train says that none of them knew about Compound V, and Maeve doesn't want to be the cleanup crew for Vought's mess up. Homelander steps in and says that the Seven should pull it together without the help of Vought, that the Seven is his family. And with that little speech, the Soups head out to take down the super terrorist. We go back to sea, and the boys start getting attacked by an army of sharks and fish. The ship starts to sink, and the boys decide to go on a smaller boat to evacuate. The Deep makes his appearance to the boys and then has the whale he is riding block the entrance to the storm drain. Butcher then gets the bright idea to go ahead and put his pedal to the metal and run the ship dead into the whale. Okay, what? First off, that was really cool. I will admit, first time seeing it, it was entertaining, hilarious, and awesome. But at the same time, it's also dumb. Firstly, this isn't how physics work. The Deep would not be launched back. The whale would have had a sudden force push on it, and that would cause the Deep to fall forward, probably onto the boat, since the floor would be pushed out from under him. Secondly, that knocks the Deep out? Seriously? That little fall knocks him unconscious? A small fall from a whale and he lands on the ground and that is enough to knock him unconscious? How the heck did the Deep get into the Seven in the first place? If Homelander wouldn't take a blind skill fighter, why would he take a man who can get knocked out so easily and talk to fish? Hey guys, so I'm inserting this clip here because I just realized something that I did not think of while I was editing this scene of my review of The Boys Season 2 on the scene with the Deep and the boat ramming into the whale. So the Deep realizes very early, right, that the whale is going to basically get impacted. Like the Deep notices like about maybe 10, 15 seconds before impact that they're not stopping. They're not turning around. They're heading right for the whale at full speed. All the Deep does is just stand in that pose the entire time they were coming. So, like, first off, thing number one, can the Deep not do anything at all? He's completely thrown off guard by this. It's like, do you not have a plan at all? Like, it's like, you have a bit of time, you're going to try anything? Like, he could dive into the water and then maybe jump onto the boat and, like, hand-to-hand combat the boys and steer the boat away from the whale? Or anything? I feel like he could. I'm pretty sure he's a fast swimmer, and he's pretty strong. We saw in Season 1 he can handle, like, a group of guys. He's good with hand-to-hand combat. So, like, okay. So, I guess not. He just doesn't. He just stands there in that pose, just hoping something happens. Like what? And the second thing is, if he cannot move the whale before the impact, can he move the whale at all? The thing is, like, let's say the boys do stop and they get captured or whatever. How does the Deep going to get the whale back into the ocean? Because the Deep obviously couldn't in those 10, 15 seconds before impact, you know? So, like, if he can't do it then, can he do it at all? Because the whale's, like, right on the land, like, right near the edge of the beach, barely in the water. Can the whale not move at all? Like, does the Deep have no powers to move the whale? How is the Deep going to get the whale back into the ocean? Let's say if the boys did turn around and were captured or whatever. If this was the Deep's plan, it's a really dumb plan. It's like, it's just dumb. Yeah, emotionally the scene and initially it was funny, hilarious, and fun to watch. But when you think about it, it also makes no sense. And it's just dumb, so. Oh well. Okay, all covered in blood, the boys start to get up, but Huey seems to be in shock and is resting hilariously inside the whale's internal organs. Butcher tries to get him out, but he refuses to leave. Huey, you do know that if Starlight shows up, she'll probably be with the Seven, and there is no way she's going to be able to save you and fight off all the Seven to keep them from killing you, right? Especially Homelander. Is that what you mean by your second win? That you're going to kill yourself? Because Starlight can't save you. Also, Huey, you being here and the soup seeing you could put her in danger as well. With Huey staying put, joins him and says that if he won't leave, then he won't leave. This convinces Huey to leave and join the others down the storm drain. Catches up to Butcher saying the team is falling apart and that Butcher is pushing them too much. Butcher says it is because they are so close to getting Becca and being free. Replies to Butcher saying that Huey is Butcher's canary and is the one that lets him know when he is going too far with his stuff. Back to the dead whale carcass, the Deep is mourning the death of the whale when the Seven finally show up. Homelander tries to get some info from the Deep about who is with the terrorists, and Starlight is not happy to see the Deep at all. Deep tries to apologize with some cult mumbo-jumbo, and Stormfront realizes that he joined the Church of the Collective and makes fun of him for it. Starlight continues to get quite upset with the Deep being here, but Homelander says there is no time for this and that they must go get the terrorist. Homelander holds the Deep back, however, as the rest go in and tells the Deep he needs to hang back for a bit. And also something else.
Your gill is showing. Cover it up. It's disgusting.
Wow, we had all that built up of confidence and the pep talk from the Oswald guilds just for Homelander to come in and take it all away with just one frickin' line. Now we are just back to square one in terms of the Deep being confident with his gills. A-Train starts running throughout the sewers but has another heart rate problem. Homelander sees this and seems to be put off by it. We cut to Huey and we see that someone is following him. He takes cover quick but sees that it is Starlight and seems to be relieved. His joy of seeing her is short-lived when Starlight blasts him since she knows Homelander is watching. Homelander is not at all happy to see Huey here and tells Starlight to kill him, otherwise he will kill both of them. With this ultimatum, she starts to light up her hands, but Butcher butts in to save the day. After Homelander antagonizes Butcher by describing the delicious breakfast he had with his wife, Booker feeds Homelander a nice taste of truck. Okay, so I wouldn't mind Homelander being trapped under this rubble for, like 10, 15 seconds, but he is under there way longer than he should be if he has the same power level of Superman. Homelander can survive a nuclear blast. You think like something like this rubble and a truck is going to slow him down for like 10 minutes? Okay, so I'm inserting this little clip here because I just realized something while editing the review that I didn't bring up that I feel like I should. So this is about the critique about when the bus falls on Homelander in Season 2, Episode 3 of The Boys. So I'm going to take you to a clip here of Season 1, Episode 1 of The Boys in the very beginning of the episode. So right here, you see we have basically boys, these two high school boys, I guess, who are about to be hit by this armored truck, or this really big truck. And let's see what happens. Okay. So Maeve just landed in front of the truck and stood in front of it, and the truck basically got split in half. She's basically like a huge pillar that can't be moved, and basically split the truck in half. She's apparently supposed to be strong, but Homelander's supposed to be stronger. She could split a car in half, but Homelander... No. Homelander cannot do it. Whenever something gets toppled onto him like a vehicle, he just bids buried by it. Maeve can basically cut right through it with her own body. Homelander is supposed to be stronger? No, apparently not. And also, Homelander can apparently move at the speed of sound, right? He can move fast. He should be able to dodge it really quick. He's not the Flash, but he should be fast enough to be able to dodge the train. The bus. Can't believe I didn't notice this in the first place. Maeve can split a car, but Homelander can't split a bus.
With his hands unbounded, Mouse uses this as a chance to escape, and Kimiko follows behind. But they get cut off and blasted by Stormfront right into an apartment building. She frickin' kills the family in the room they got blasted into and starts to go after Mouse. Mouse, use your powers. Use your hands. Are you paralyzed right now? You don't seem to be hurt. Can you not use your powers here? Use it on Stormfront the same way you used it on Kimiko. It'd be good to try something than just continue to go backwards. You're not gonna escape her. Oh, whatever. Kimiko saves them just in time. They run upstairs as Stormfront follows. Stormfront, what are you doing? Are you trying to ruin your reputation as well as Vought's? Now, I know what you may be thinking. Oh, she can just blame it on the terrorist and all will be well. Do you really think it is going to be that simple? You think that Vought is just going to say, oh, the terrorists caused all this damage, and every single person on the planet is going to believe that with no questioning at all? You don't think there would be some doubters, like a significant amount? You think people may find this suspicious, especially since Vought just got exposed that they've been lying about how the soups exist and how their business is going down the tubes? You think after all that lying they have done that people would still believe them just instantaneously? And also, you can kind of clearly see there's purple lightning that is causing these explosions, and we know Stormfront has that ability. Any eyewitnesses will probably report that in. And also, even if people think the terrorists did do this damage, people can still pin some of the blame on Stormfront because she is the one who threw those terrorists into the building in the first place. That was her, not the terrorist. This is the same criticism people had with Man of Steel, that Superman was destroying cities while fighting Zod without thinking about what he was doing, or possibly killing people below with all the buildings falling. This critique was even addressed later in the BVS movie. Like, seriously, it's the same thing. Stormfront is the one who threw them into that building and caused that damage to begin with. Congresswoman Newsom could argue this in favor of her campaign, argue that Stormfront was not concerned with the citizens' safety and was reckless, and that she could have took the fight away from populated areas and away from the complex, but Stormfront threw them in anyway, and that was a reckless move. Right, the siblings reach the top of the building and they see they have little options to head to next. Mouse jumps to the next building safely, but Stormfront catches up with Kimiko and starts to strangle her. Don't know what this will do. Doesn't Kimiko have like regenerative abilities like on the level of Wolverine? I don't think it's going to be really hard to kill her, but okay. Oh, for gosh sake, use your powers, Mouse. Why the heck are you even bothering to use your actual hands? Use the powers in your hands on Stormfront. Stormfront is dangerous and you are throwing her with just your normal hands. If she gets a hand on you, you're gonna be screwed. Use your powers to lift Stormfront off of Kimiko and then throw Stormfront far away. Or heck, try to crush Stormfront's organs. Try to crush her eyes. Oh great, she killed him. Wow, all this could have been avoided if he just used his powers. Anyway, Homelander finally arrives to the party.
I said he was mine.
You snooze, you lose, Gramps.
Stormfront, there was two of them, not just the one. You forgot Kimiko. She isn't dead yet. You haven't checked to see if she's dead. You just threw her off to the side. Are you seriously just gonna walk off and just leave Kimiko unattended? Seriously? You just assuming she's dead? Wow, that is so sloppy. We then cut to a medical facility that is attending to the wounds of all the people Stormfront didn't kill in the apartment complex. The heroes are there to help, and Vought holds a press conference. I'm still blown away that they are able to get away with as much as they are able to. Like in the entire season, there is so much they get in trouble for, and it's just all let off. It is quite insane. But anyway, Edgar says that the company is investigating Compound V, and that Edgar had no knowledge of this, and that it was still Wells' fault for the Compound V debacle. They also congratulate Stormfront for stopping the super terrorist, and Homelander is not happy that he does not get the glory. And then we end the episode with an emotional shot of Kamiko's face. Ta-da, we are now screwed. Alright, moving on to episode 4. Now, before we get started with this, I just want to let you know, at the time of this recording that you are hearing right now, it is Christmas Day, and I also came down with COVID-19 about 2 days ago. So this Christmas has not been that good for me, but more I wanted to tell you this in case you think my voice sounds funny or I don't sound as energetic as I did the past 3 episodes. That's because I have COVID-19. But I'm going to go ahead and just continue to record anyway because I do not want to put this off too much, and I just want to go ahead and get the recording done so I can go ahead and start editing. So apologies in advance if my voice sounds weird or funny, if I don't sound energetic. That's just because of COVID. We start off this episode with what appears to be an interview with a woman talking about relationships and finding the perfect partner and stuff like that. We of course know this is actually for the Deep, finding a possible woman for him to become a partner of. There's really nothing to these scenes besides comedy, so we're going to go ahead and move on. We see Frenchie is getting high as a kite, and we see Kamiko still trying to deal with the loss of her brother. Frenchie comes in to try to comfort her and also tries to... Okay, so this is out of nowhere and kind of awkward as heck. Now you may say, oh, he was high, you do stupid things when you're high. Well, sure, maybe that could be the case, but it seemed like he was still rational even though he was high. He was trying to say things like, oh, this isn't your fault, and he's trying to comfort her and stuff. He wasn't being dumb or anything, he seemed to be perfectly aware of what he was doing. Even later when he goes to visit the other girl, he still seems to be high off his rocker and still seems to be rational-minded. So I don't think it was the drugs that made him do that. I think he just did that by his own free will, and it just seems very, very weird and awkward and just out of nowhere. What is it with all these forced kisses being in media recently? The news report on the TV also states eyewitnesses reports that are kind of incoherent to what happened in the last episode.
Witnesses who caught a glimpse of the killer described him as dead-eyed and unemotional.
Really? He was running so fast and stuff. I don't think anyone could have possibly saw him and say he was dead-eyed or unemotional. No one had the chance to get a good look at him. It's kind of hyperbolic, don't you think? Also, we get a total tally of 59 victims. I think Vought is going to have quite a lawsuit on their hands. We then see Homelander watching the news and not being happy being the one out of the public eye again. To deal with his emotions, Homelander heads to a cabin in the woods, literally, where Stillwell is waiting for him and tries to get some comfort. At this point, I didn't know exactly what was going on. I figured he may have been hallucinating until we found out it was a doppelganger, but, you know. We see the federally highly wanted criminal that no one seems to recognize, Butcher, is meeting up with Grace at the memorial site for all of the victims of the apartment. Grace tells him about her dream that she's constantly having, and Butcher tells her that they are no closer to figuring out the identity of the person who is exploding the heads. Grace gives Butcher an envelope. Inside, we see a pic of Liberty, a second-tier soup who Grace wants MM to talk to at the address on the back. She also gives Butcher the possible location where Becca is, even though he didn't come through on the deal, and that it won't be easy to get into wherever she may be. Butcher takes it and walks off. We then see Homelander watching Taxi Driver with Stillwell. Now, before we continue on, something caught my eye in the X-ray on Amazon, you know, that they have whenever you watch their stuff. Look at this. Whenever Homelander's feeling down, his go-to movie is Taxi Driver, starring Robert De Niro. Homelander relates to Travis Bickle because both of them feel a threat to their white male privilege and both feel entitled to lash out with violence because of it. What? There has been nothing in the entire show that alludes to Homelander feeling his white male privilege is being threatened. I don't think Homelander has even brought up the topic at all in any of the past episodes of Season 1 or 2. Everything about his superiority complexes hinge upon him being the most powerful superhero in the world, not because he's a white man. If any of you watching right now have any clips or something that alludes to Homelander feeling threatened to his white male privilege, please let me know where I can find it. Like, seriously, I want to know. I can't think of any point in the show where the audience gets a hit that Homelander thinks he has white male privilege and that is being threatened. And for the record, Travis Bickle did not act out violently because he felt his white male privilege was threatened. He lashed out because his depression and the corruption and evil around him, that's what was driving him to do this. He lashed out at these people because of how poorly they were treating Jodie Foster, and he wanted to help her out and get her out of there. That was the whole point. That's why he went to these people specifically. He wanted to do something that would make a difference in the life of any sort, even if it was violent. He has never felt privileged in the entire movie. Everything revolves around his struggles with depression and trying to find hope in a world of ruin. That's what leads him to go to this, not a feeling that his white privilege is being threatened. Travis Bickle would not care about topics like that. Anyways, as he watches, we actually get some decent chemistry and character development for Homelander. The way in which he is talking and being more open about his problems with his Stillwell copycat gives us a better insight to Homelander's struggle. He likes being the leader, likes being respected, how he may be regretting killing the real Stillwell, etc. I feel like we are seeing something very genuine happening, if that makes sense, and I think it does add to Homelander a little bit as a character. Also, it is pretty funny when Doppelganger gets revealed and how Homelander responds to it.
Change back! Change back!
Butcher stupidly heads out to the Vought facility alone and somehow thinks he will get in quite easily. Well, we'll see about that. Next scene is Starlight when she gets threatened by Homelander. Nothing much really wrong with this scene here, I think. Anyway, after scaring Starlight in the elevator, we then see Black Noir approach this lady who is not happy about her taste in candy and ask her to search for Butcher. She says she can run a facial recognition search for Butcher, and Black Noir sits down to learn the ways of tracking people through technology. Meanwhile, Starlight is going to meet federally highly wanted criminal at large Huey in a public area where anyone can see him and film them and get reported to the feds, but no one cares again. Starlight feels bad about hurting and almost killing him, but he says she didn't in the end and that it is okay. Starlight mentions that she got his voicemail and Huey is embarrassed by this. Why? You sent that out of a time of desperation, Huey. It was very understandable. And you just want her to drop it? Really? Like, why are we still stuck in this state? They talk about what they're going to do next in terms of bringing down Vought, but Huey gets a call from MM and has to go with MM on a road trip to North Carolina. Starlight breaks down and asks if she can go with him because she is too scared to go back to the tower. At first, MM refuses, saying she is chipped and that is too dangerous. Starlight happens to have a cousin down there and says she can tell Vought that she is going down to visit. Huey also argues that if they are going to see a soup, it may be good to have one of their own for protection. Look at this image, my viewers. 2 wanted felons out in the middle of downtown New York conversing and everyone can see them and possibly report them. Okay, I know I've made that complaint so many times, I'll stop now. Back at Vought Tower, we see A-Train get shocked by the sight of Shockwave at the tower, the other speedster. He confronts Ashley about it. Homelander comes in and delivers the bad news that A-Train is no longer going to be in the 7 due to his heart condition. Remember that point, by the way, that he was kicked out because of his heart. It is very important to bring up later. Go back to Annie, Huey, and MM driving to North Carolina. We get one of my personal favorite scenes from the season where Annie and Huey sing We Didn't Start the Fire by Billy Joel. It's a fun, cute little moment in the series and help us see that Annie and Huey still want to enjoy each other's company, even though they seem to be pushing each other away. After all the dramatic events they have been through the last few days and being in really traumatic situations, this feels like a genuine, nice emotion. It feels like a very placeful at the moment, where they both get to experience some enjoyment since they hadn't had really up to this point in the season. But anyway, look, it's Homelander with a Confederate cape. Guys, you get it? He's secretly evil. He's secretly a Nazi and a Confederate, okay? Oh, look, another interview with the girl. Not really important. Let's move on. We then cut to, wait, what? Okay, what was it that Grace said earlier?
Vought facility, armed to the teeth. Won't be easy.
Easy peasy lemon squeezy to get out of that wall. That is so breezy. Also, there is no way he got into there without being captured on camera. Aren't there Vought guards and employees like all around this place? So does nobody see or notice this? Is there no one watching on the cameras? Is there any kind of security in this facility to prevent this simple thing from happening? Wow, anyone can get into this facility. All you need is yourself and a rope. Anyway, Frenchie goes to his girlfriend to talk about his sexual assault. I mean kiss on Kamiko. She says that he should just leave her be since she isn't a child and she can take care of herself. Also, we get a small glimpse reveal that Frenchie might be doing this to try to make up for a mistake he made in his past regarding Lamplighter and other soup. Alright, moving on. 2 wanted felons and a celebrity superhero are now eating in a public restaurant. Starlight and MM talk about their relationships with their fathers from times past and bond a little. They leave the restaurant and at the same time a car accident happens right when they leave. Starlight wants to help but MM says it would give away their low profile. Well, she can just help them as a normal citizen without using her powers. It's not like anyone's gonna call the cops on you because nobody has already, so screw it. Back to Becca, we see that Butcher has entered her car. He is hiding in the back of the car to avoid the cameras. Becca shows the camera that she is driving out for a smoke. Okay, So firstly, there is no way, again, Butcher got into that car without a camera picking him up, so why is he bothering even to hide? He's already been recorded, obviously. Secondly, she shows the camera that she is going out for a smoke as if to imply she is currently being watched right now on the other end of the cameras. Well, why hasn't that person taken notice of Butcher entering the facility? Did he seriously not see him at all? And why do you have to show them that you are going out for a smoke? Don't you think they would find it odd that you are driving out to an area with no cameras just to smoke? Oh well, they drive off to this little bridge area and Butcher and her have a very nice reunion. And yes, it is very emotionally satisfying to see them finally back together after so long. Butcher says he wants to get her out of there the same way he came in, but she says that Ryan cannot climb that fence. It is vaguely implied in this conversation that Butcher has no interest in bringing Ryan along, probably due to him being a soup. He asks Becca if he has powers, and Becca says yes, but that she isn't raising him like that. She and Butcher decide to use the garbage truck to escape that comes around every day at 11. Becca then leaves to check on Ryan and make sure she isn't looking suspicious for Vought. Back to the hotel, Annie and Huey eat candy and have a conversation. Annie talks about how it feels like having a gun in her face every day with having Homelander be around the tower. It's a very nice scene between the two. I really like these two interacting, so nothing really wrong here. Let's go ahead and move on. Oh, another interview. Not important. Moving on, we cut back to Becca and Butcher in another conversation. They talk about the whole situation now, how Becca has been here since Ryan was born, how Butcher says he will make it up to Becca for not being there for her all this time, and to find a way to get out of Vought's little fingers. We go to Maeve and Homelander talking to Maria Menounos about Soup's terrorist, Compound V, etc. Then the topic of diversity is brought up in regards to how diverse the Seven is. Apparently, 92% of Soups are Caucasian. Homelander rebuttals this, saying that they have A-Train, which he doesn't, he just kicked him off. They have Black Noir, who doesn't identify as anything. And then Homelander does the thing he always does, be a jerk. He reveals that Maeve is a lesbian to Maria. Very much a moment that made me want to punch Homelander in the face. After the interview, Maeve is tense, asking Homelander what she did to Elena. Homelander protests, saying he did nothing and that he wants to set her free. Maeve said that she had a relationship with Elena, but ended it when she joined the Seven. Homelander snaps at her and says that he is tired of her lies and that he knows they are still a thing, but that he does not plan to interview and that he is happy for both of them. He walks off, but not before catching Stormfront taking another dub on Vought's reputation. We then go to this little rally Stormfront is putting on, and we see Kamiko is in the crowd trying to get closer to Stormfront so that she can annihilate her. Not really a good idea, okay, Kamiko? Stormfront is probably stronger than you are, maybe, and she is out in the open with a lot of people. If the people see Kamiko trying to attack Stormfront and Kamiko fails to kill her or land a blow on her, this would help Stormfront's cause and prove her point. Also, the crowd may get riled up and try to go after Kamiko. What is she gonna do then? She probably doesn't want to kill all these people. Probably can't even handle all of them, so she would have to run. But thank goodness, luckily Frenchie stepped in and stopped her before she could act. Then Kamiko storms off naturally. Back to the road trip gang, they finally get to the address and knock to see who is inside. A woman opens it up and she gets tense at the sound of the name Liberty. She thinks they are with Vought, but MM convinces her that he and the rest of the gang are not with Vought. She lets them in and tells them the story about Liberty. One time at night, she was in the backseat of a car while her brother was driving home. Liberty was in the middle of the road and gets the brother out, saying the car was involved in a robbery. The brother insists it wasn't, but Liberty doesn't listen and pretty much beats him to death. Vought paid the sister off to be silent, and she has not talked about it to anyone since. But she gives one more key detail of vital information. She says that Liberty is still alive and has taken on the new persona as Stormfront. With this information, the crew decide to drive back to New York. Next, we see Homelander getting upset at memes. Oh, these memes have got to be made by corporate and the crew, right? Some of these has got to be cringe. Let us take a look at this. On the way to respecting Stormfront? What? She has no sympathy for what watches. Tries to save the city, can't even save his reputation. How hilarious. Saving America, LOL, biatch. Did you hear about Stormfront? The tea is scalding, sis. Is this a joke? Is this funny? Laughing at Homelander. Is that a frickin' reference to a show? Me receiving the glory of Stormfront post. What does that even mean? One is just not even a meme. One is just the promotional for Girls Get It Done. Homelander's mind when he found out a woman is stronger than him. No, this would be Homelander if anyone was stronger than him. He would feel this way if it was a guy, too. He doesn't care about the gender of the person. It's if anyone is stronger than him or takes his spotlight. That's what he cares about. Homelander finally confronts Stormfront about her trying to undermine him and take his place as the head of superhero at Vought. Stormfront makes fun of him, saying that his wanting to be loved by everyone is very pathetic, and Homelander gets all laser eyes. Stormfront calms him down and explains to him what she is exactly doing. She says emotional anger sells real well, and that Homelander should not try to win the whole country anymore because nobody can.
Emotion sells. Anger sells. You have fans.
I have soldiers.
Soldiers? Really? Your guys turning out memes, you call them your soldiers? That is hilarious. Stormfront says that Homelander could use a little help connecting with his audience, but Homelander denies her. She finishes it off saying that she will always be up here if he needs it. We cut back to the Vought facility in the morning that Butcher and Becca originally planned to escape. Becca, however, says she is not leaving because she is convinced Butcher will not like the kid and find a way to get rid of him. Butcher says Vought values him and having the kid around puts a target on their backs that Butcher does not want to deal with anymore. Now, on a personal note, I'm not really a big fan of these kind of interactions. They're arguing, then one says something really bad, say they don't mean it, but it has to say it so that the characters can break up. It is the same thing used in like romantic films, like with the misunderstanding trope. It's very cliched and overused, especially in romance films. They just get one character to say something really mean so that the other one storms up and that they break up for like 30 minutes of the film. Anyway, she says that she never knew how to save them, and the reason she went to Vought was because she was scared that if Butcher found out, he would go on a revenge path that would cause harm and nothing good. She then tells him that she is not going to go and leaves Butcher at the bridge. Back to the security area with Girl in Black Noir, they finally get a ping on Butcher. Okay, the security at Vought is pretty terrible. Firstly, how are they only finding out about him being there now? Isn't the whole point of this system to catch Butcher and keep tabs on things that they need to keep tabs on? Do the cameras not alert or give a little ping or a little notification of any sort when they get a facial recognition match on someone? What's the point of the facial recognition software install if it doesn't alert you when it has a match? Also, this camera is at the Vought facility. How does the guard of this place not know he is there? This wasn't found out just when it happened. It's been hours, maybe even over a day since Butcher got there. He arrived at night and is still there in the morning, and it takes Vought this long to frickin' find out he is in there. What is the point of all this high level of security if no one is taking it seriously or doing their job? Alright, back. 2 wanted felons and a celebrity soup roam in a street full of people after they get back from their road trip. Huey says he'd be up for another candy date, but Starlight says,
We can't do that again. We can't afford to feel good or to feel safe or to let our guard down.
well, this didn't stop you from meeting Huey before, Starlight, and you are out in public with him, and you say you can't afford to feel safe? I think you can afford to feel safe considering you are out here in public surrounded by people with Huey, a wanted felon. Pretty sure you can feel safe.
You can't go through this on your own.
We're all alone. That's the truth.
And we are all alone. That is your excuse for abandoning Huey here. After he took you on the road trip to try to comfort you. Now one may argue she is doing this because she is really scared of Homelander after the elevator debacle, and possibly also the sewer one, and doesn't want Huey to get hurt or killed. Okay, well why doesn't she just say that? She was the one getting on Huey's case saying, do not lie to me, so don't lie to him. Just say to Huey, I'm really scared that I almost killed you. I don't want that to happen again, and I want to protect you, so I think it would be best if we just do not see each other so often, if ever, and keep contact to a minimum, because I don't want to end up in that situation again, okay? Would you do this for me, Huey? And I think Huey would be a little reluctant, but I think he would understand that and maybe go along with it. It is just a weak reason to not see each other. We are all alone, really? Another deep scene, not important. Homelander goes back to the cabin where the fake Stillwell is, but Homelander says he is not in the mood and says that he needs no one except himself. With this line, Doppelganger turns into Homelander in a dress. He starts to flirt and come on to Homelander and says that the world's love is his strength. This triggers Homelander from what Stormfront says earlier, and then Homelander grabs Doppelganger by the neck and says he doesn't need anyone or him. Then snaps his neck and the episode ends. Okay, so why did Homelander do that? Yes, you may say he got emotionally riled up and that's what caused him to do that, but it is such a waste. This would have been something else that Vought has to clean or cover up or deal with. And wouldn't this also made Edgar upset again? Also, if Homelander really values the loyalty of his team and such and wants to make sure they're not doing anything behind his back, why not use Doppelganger to Homelander's advantage? Homelander can tell Doppelganger, I want you to follow, say, Starlight. Follow her around, make sure she's not doing anything suspicious. Shapeshift into somebody so she does not recognize you. Like, seriously, that would be brilliant. He can keep tabs on the soups. Doppelganger could be such of a great use to Homelander here, but no, Homelander would have to be intelligent to think of all this. The crew making this just wanted Homelander to have another mad and be evil and kill again thing, because they think that is cool. Alright, we have gotten through the first 4 episodes, and that concludes part 1 of The Boys Season 2 Critique and Analysis. Hopefully what I have presented to you so far can help you understand why I'm not overall impressed with the show's writing. There's a decent amount of stupid decisions by characters, inconsistencies with the plot, a story that isn't thought out too well. There are things I like, but in terms of writing and story, there are major inconsistency and problems. Now, I am really looking forward to releasing part 2 of this review, because the second half of this season has by far some of the dumbest stuff. And I also think the strongest criticisms are contained in the second half of season 2. Hopefully I can get that out relatively soon. Anyway, thank you all for watching this video. Hopefully you got some enjoyment out of it and found some of my critiques valid and interesting, and hopefully what I've explained to you can show you why I do not think the writing is on par. If you do like the video, leave a like and subscribe also for more content. Let me know what you guys think of The Boys Season 2. Do you think it was just as good as the first season? Better? Worse? What are your critiques with it? I would really like to know. It would be interesting to hear y'all's takes on The Boys Season 2, so go ahead and let me know down in the comments. And hopefully I will see y'all in part 2 of this review. Take care, guys, and stay safe. I will see you later.